Well, howdy out there, all you collector car fans. This is Jason, the owner and founder of Southern Bush Motorsports. This is a part two to Cow Barn of Cars and Parts. I just felt it needed to be justified. This is going to be more focused on the parts that were stored in there. And, I got a lot of comments about how come I only take pictures and no video. You got to remember, this is back in 2003, 4, 5. So I take one video back then, and my entire hard drive is filled up. Yet I can take thousands of pictures with that one video. So the technology wasn't quite there yet. So that's the reason for all the pictures. So this place right here, I'm going to throw everybody a bone. I don't normally do this because I work so hard to keep these locations secret. But this place was in Mechanicsville, Kentucky. I'm going to leave it at that. You're welcome. Do your own research. I don't know if they're still there. But this guy was an absolute genius for what he did. Look at those look at those parts. And he organized everything. He definitely had a game plan from beginning to end. Car parts stashed everywhere, and that's what this whole video is going to be about, is the actual parts that this guy did. Like, he just had, look at those 6-pack air cleaners just piled on top of each other. It was ridiculous what this guy did. He had a plan. He was super smart about his plan. He kept all the parts. Man threw nothing out, because even nuts and bolts were important to him, because he knew the big picture. Like, these are old cow paddocks or whatever they call them, just full of car parts. You know, God bless him, because that dash right there might mean a life to somebody else. You know, I took little parts of pictures of all the parts that he had lying around and stuff. So like I said, I normally don't give up the locations, but I did it with this. I don't know if the guy's still there or not, whatever. You're talking about 20 years later. Look at all those hoods lined up. GTX air grabber hoods. Parts everywhere. It was insane. But you can't do nothing but respect this guy for hoarding all these parts. That entire building was just seats, fenders, hoods, everything. He literally put his entire life into collecting all these parts. Look at those fenders. Crappy picture, but solid fenders. People would kill for original fenders instead of buying repops. And then I had said before in my other videos, he had all these school buses that he had retired that were all full of parts. And he took care of these parts, organized them. You know, look, those are all NOS parts piled on top of that car. I don't even know what that car is, but it's all NOS parts piled on top of that car. Doors. Tell me when you're restoring a car you wouldn't kill for an original door, original metalwork, everything, glass, everything, parts, all numbered, all labeled. Those are all NOS parts. The man had a plan, and he knew what he was doing. Look at that bus, full of trunk lids. God, when I was restoring a car, I loved having this original steel wheels. Look at them. No way to bullshit that. Steel wheels, all original. You know, I had nothing but respect for this guy. Those are all fenders right there, original fenders, all solid fenders. You know, you can't buy that kind of metalwork nowadays. This is a weird picture because he has some really crazy stuff in there, but I couldn't get in there, so I just took whatever picture I could, but it was just insane. Challenger convertible, yeah, just sitting there. You know, to help out with some of the comments, you know, you're looking at these pictures and that's great, but you got to remember, this is 2023. Look at all those doors. Good God. This is 2023, but I took these pictures 20 years ago. There was barely any technology with digital back then, so... You know, I did what I could back then. I made sure I take as many pictures as I could, but low quality pictures, because the resolution wasn't there yet. There wasn't no smartphones that took incredible pictures yet. This gives you an idea how big that cow barn really was. And it was 2 or 3 barns that really connected together. More of that rim shot. Some of these pictures are going to be repeat pictures, but I just felt that it was worth it. You know, I think that was a coup right there. Because this guy's life work was worth me doing this video to show people Look at the dashes and stuff just piled on top of each other. You know, it was worth me recognizing this man for what he had done because it was a lot of work, and it was just him. It was just him that did all this work. Put all these cars away, stripped all these parts off. Like, look at these fenders. I mean, insane how solid these fenders were. He was smart enough to put all these parts and cars away, and you got to give respect. That was an outside shot of a field that cars that he really didn't put in the building because they weren't nothing special, but tons of parts on these cars. There's a row of Mopars just sitting there, waiting to be had. Can't say enough. Just got to have respect for this guy for sticking all these cars where he did. You know, I like to take these wide shots like that because it was just, I was mind boggled on how massive an operation that he had there. Another school bus full of super solid fenders. Look at these fenders, super solid, no rust, everything's still on them. There's an old Hoop 2 Roadrunner right there. But look at that car. Super solid. There's nothing wrong with that car. No rust on that car. Super solid. Look at all those cars right there. It's insane how he even did this all by himself. It really is. You know, he might have been helped a little bit here, a little bit there, but realistically, it was just him that did this. Just cars everywhere. Good God, just look at it. Look at that hoard of parts. Anybody that's a car collector, most of this stuff was Mopar stuff, would just kill to get into this place because there was so much stuff. But at the end of the day, the kind of money that he was asking, the fact that I'd have to organize it all, look at it, it's just an entire cow pasture full of cars. You know, there's parts interchange manuals where, you know, people looking at some four-door car might think it's worth anything, but a lot of the parts actually change over to the two-door car that you're working on. Good God, I mean, look at that. You're talking about envelopes. Remember, you get a part and it would come in a little yellow envelope? He saved all that stuff. There's those buses again. Man was smart enough to fill those buses up because it was dry and clean storage. Fill them up with parts. Absolutely fill them up with parts. There's a money shot right there. You can't fake that. I think I've shown that a couple times already. More fenders. And, you know, this is why I wanted to do a part 2, more focusing on the parts that this guy had put away, because it was just genius. Every one of those little trays right there was full of original bolts. So he would take a fender off of a car and he would keep the bolts. How smart is that? Because it's got that original number on it, a little stamp, whatever. But if he took a fender off, he would take the bolts and stick them in there. There's that, I think that was actually a 69 GTX convertible 440. There's another car just piled full of parts. It's what this guy did. He was smart enough to do it. So like I said in the beginning of the video, I normally don't give out locations, but this was Mechanicsville, Kentucky. I believe that's what it was. You can look it up. It wouldn't be too hard to find the guy. I'm sure he's still got cars sitting out there and stuff. And I hope that he retired off money that he got from the cars, but maybe this stuff's still sitting out there. At the end of the day, it is what it is. Look at that Charger right there. A beauty. Rough, but a beauty. NOS parts. God, it was just so crazy what this guy saved. I mean, imagine go get a alternator in 1969. Oh, there's a shameless selfie right there. I was out in that cow pasture. That's in behind his building. All those cars just sitting there. And a Roadrunner there, 70 Roadrunner. It's crazy, because they didn't use salt on the roads. All those cars were still so solid. You know, just to give you an idea of what this guy had. I mean, the kind of money he was asking for the place, it was worth it, but I couldn't justify paying that because the amount of work that was involved. I would have to bring in a whole separate team to document these parts. And it just didn't seem like it was something that would be economically viable for me to do, to take a whole year off of what I was doing. Because at the time that I was doing this, I was the only one that was out there that had dedicated to just travel around, not look for cars that were sitting in people's front yards. I mean, I went to world history libraries. You know, Johnny drove a 69 Charger off a bridge. Well, you know, they never picked that car up. That car's sitting at the bottom of that river still, and that was the kind of stuff that I did, was went in and picked up that car. And the microfiche and stuff like that, it was great to see all these newspaper clippings and stuff, but that's where I went after a lot of these cars. So I didn't take the easy way out and look at cars where people were sitting in their front yard. A lot of guys put cars in their yard because they just want people to stop and talk to them. You know, and that's not what I went for. I knew that those people were doing that, so I didn't waste my time with it. And, you know, it was an entire career, and I decided to just share it all with you all and show you what I had done. I really appreciate you come by and checking on our Tales from the Bush. I'm glad I did a part 2 on this property because it deserved it. And don't forget to check out the next videos coming because there's still a lot more to come. Thank you for checking out Tales from the Bush.